Okay, so confession time. I am a pathological liar. Not in a I'm secretly a Russian spy kind of way, but in a far more insidious, far more socially acceptable way. I am a people pleaser, which basically means I lie to my friends, I lie to my family, and I lie to my boss on a daily basis. I don't lie to be malicious or manipulative, I lie to be nice, which, let's be honest, is just a thinly veiled attempt to avoid conflict and gain approval. Someone inevitably asks, hey, wanna come to this party? It's gonna be epic. There'll be a live DJ, an open bar, and a bouncy castle. And I of course reflexively blurt out, oh my gosh, I would absolutely love to. Sounds amazing, I wouldn't miss it for the world. The cold, hard truth. I would honestly rather spend the entire evening staring at a blank wall in a darkened room, contemplating the existential void while listening to whale songs, than endure even a single minute of forced small talk, aggressively loud music, and the distinct possibility of being trampled by drunken adults in a bouncy castle. Or my personal favorite, someone corners me at work and pleads, hey, could you possibly help me move this weekend? I know it's a huge imposition, but you're just so strong and capable, and I literally have no other friends willing to lift heavy objects. And I, like the spineless jellyfish that I am, immediately respond with, of course, man. I'd be happy to help, just tell me when and where, and I'll be there with bells on. The agonizing reality. I'm already stretched thinner than a sheet of phyllo dough. I am perpetually exhausted from juggling a million different responsibilities, and I have zero freaking time to help anyone move, least of all someone who clearly only values my physical strength. Now I realize that being a people pleaser doesn't make me a good guy, it just makes me a human doormat, constantly being walked all over, taken advantage of, and never getting any respect. Actually, it's even worse than that. It makes me a freaking ghost. A shape-shifting chameleon with no real identity of my own. Because if I'm always morphing and bending and contorting myself into whatever you want me to be, then who the hell am I, really? I don't have a personality. I just have a meticulously curated collection of performative niceness, carefully suppressed resentment, and a crippling fear of confrontation. I am basically a walking, talking trauma response in a trench coat, desperately trying to avoid triggering anyone, lest they abandon me to die alone and unloved. Psychology in its infinite wisdom has a fancy term for this, the Fawn Response. You know, fight, flight, or freeze, those classic survival mechanisms that have kept humans alive for millennia. Well, fawn is the awkward, often overlooked fourth option, the strategy of trying to stay safe by being as non-threatening, as agreeable, and as helpful as humanly possible, even at the expense of your own well-being. It's basically emotional camouflage, a desperate attempt to blend in with the herd and avoid becoming a target. But here's the colossal, soul-crushing problem. When you constantly say yes to everyone else's demands, when you constantly prioritize other people's needs above your own, you are by default saying a resounding no to yourself. You are slowly but surely erasing your own needs, neglecting your own desires, and sacrificing your own happiness on the altar of other people's fleeting approval. You are slowly burning yourself out, depleting your energy reserves, and transforming yourself into a hollow shell of a human being, all in the name of being nice. So how do we break free from this insidious cycle of self-sacrifice? How do we reclaim our lives, our time, and our sanity, without transforming into complete and utter sociopaths? First, I reluctantly adopted the 24-hour rule. When someone asks me for a favor, when someone tries to guilt-trip me into doing something I don't want to do, I am absolutely, positively not allowed to answer immediately. I have a pre-rehearsed script that I deploy with robotic precision. Let me check my calendar and get back to you. This, of course, buys me a full 24 hours to agonize over my decision, weigh the pros and cons, and ultimately decide whether I'm willing to sacrifice my precious time and energy for the sake of someone else's fleeting happiness. Second, I've had to slowly, painfully, grudgingly accept the radical concept that no is, in fact, a complete and perfectly acceptable sentence. I don't need to invent some elaborate, Oscar-worthy sob story about a fake family emergency or a sudden bout of contagious leprosy just to get out of a dinner I don't want to attend. Simply saying I can't make it is in fact enough. And if they get mad, if they throw a temper tantrum, if they try to guilt-trip me into changing my mind, well, that's their emotional baggage to manage, not mine. I am no longer responsible for managing other people's feelings, especially when it comes at the expense of my own well-being. Easier said than done, obviously, but I'm working on it. Third, and perhaps most importantly, I've had to grudgingly come to terms with the earth-shattering realization that disappointing people is actually safe. The world will not end if I decline to help my coworker format a ridiculously complex PDF document. The sun will still rise if I skip happy hour with my boss. My friendships will not spontaneously combust if I occasionally prioritize my own needs above the needs of others. Shocking, I know. So stop setting yourself on fire to keep other people warm. Stop sacrificing your own well-being for the fleeting approval of others. Stop being a human doormat. It is okay, it is necessary, it is morally imperative to be selfish. If selfish just means surviving, thriving, and reclaiming your own damn life. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a date with my cooch, a large pizza, and a firm commitment to saying no to anyone who asks me to do anything even remotely resembling a favor. Wish me luck, I'm going to need it.